Hello everybody, it's Melody, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my attempt at some French baguettes. So let's get into it, shall we? To a bowl, I'm adding 3 1/8 cup of bread flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of instant dry yeast. I'm giving that all a quick whisk before I add 2 3/8 cup of water. This is just cool water, and pour it in slowly so you don't spill. So at this point, you are probably noticing that it's looking more like a batter than a dough. So here I added a lot more flour just to make it more like a dough and make it easier to work with. While bread dough is supposed to be fairly wet, it's not supposed to be batterish. So I'm using the back end of the spoon just to make sure you don't break your whisk and it's not too hard. You're just bringing the dough together. So after that's all incorporated and I'm sort of happy with the texture it's at, I'm going to cover it with saran wrap and let it rise for 45 minutes. And just look, you can actually see in this time lapse the dough and the yeast sort of growing. It's really cool, and it's a reminder that this dough is sort of alive and growing. So once that 45 minutes is up, we're going to turn this dough out onto a counter, no flour, just wet our hands and give the dough a few turns before putting it back in the bowl and rising for another 45 minutes. So in this rise, the bowl sort of got moved outside of the frame, but I still wanted to include the footage just so you could see how the yeast grows and develops over time. I mean, just look at that. It's so cool. I don't know about you, but it's freaky to me. Okay, 45 minutes are up, another 45 minutes of course, and we're going to repeat the process from before again. Wet our hands, give the dough a few turns, and put it back in the bowl. Now I'm just cleaning up my work surface and letting it rise for, yes, another 45 minutes. I really love how you can see the dough progressively getting bigger over each rise. So one last time, we're going to repeat this process. Wet our hands, give the dough a few turns, and put it back in the bowl for the final 45-minute rise. So this one is my favorite time lapse because you can really seriously start to see the dough grow. Okay, one last time, let's turn the dough out into the surface. This time we can have flour, and I'm going to split it into 4 equal parts. Equal-ish, I say equal, but they weren't exactly equal. So now I'm just sort of shaping them into little dough balls, and playing with dough is just so fun. You need to do this. So this is the sort of pre-shape where I'm just pressing out the dough like you might do with pizza dough, then rolling it on itself and sort of closing the seam with the heel of my hand, if that makes any sense. So these guys are not the final shape of the baguette, just to get that memory in the dough, and be sure to press out any bubbles that you might see. That's my favorite part. So we're going to cover these guys with saran wrap and let them rise for 15 more minutes. After that's done, we can move on to the final shaping. So what we're doing here is just sort of spreading out the dough, and then like before, rolling it up on itself and closing the seam with the heel of our hands, and then sort of rolling it out to make it a little bit longer. Transferring these to a lightly floured pillowcase to separate them, and covering them with a towel to rise for a total of 32 minutes. Then transferring them to a lightly oiled baking sheet, probably 2 to a sheet, giving them a little spritz of water, and then scoring them with a very sharp knife. And now we're going to put them in a 400-degree oven for 8 minutes, turn the tray around, and do another 8 minutes, although mine took a bit longer than that. So here's the final product. You're going to have to wait a little bit to cut them because they're still hot and fresh out of the oven. They look a little wonky, but they're bread, and I'm super proud of that. I'm actually very happy with the outcome. I honestly did not believe I could do this. And to be honest, when I did try the bread, listen to that sound when you break it apart. when I did try the bread, it was a little bit bland, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to remember next time I make this, I will be making it again. I'll have to add more salt and maybe let the dough rise a little bit longer just to get that fermentation. But I mean, look at the inside. That is bread. There are holes. That is bread. I'm very, very happy in case you haven't noticed. That's bread. Okay, I'll stop. But seriously, you should go make this. Maybe learn from my mistakes. You might want to try weighing out your ingredients instead, because I know that cups aren't the most accurate form of measurement. But if you try this, you're going to have so much fun playing with the dough. It is like Play-Doh. The bubbles will make you so happy. Go try it. I can't really say anything else. There is one detail of the recipe that I accidentally left out. Whenever you bake these, first be sure to put a tray of boiling water in the bottom of your oven to create steam, and this will make the crust a bit crispier. You can also give them another spritz right before they go into the oven if you want an extra crispy crust. Here I'm just playing back the footage of me shaping the dough because I had so much fun, and I want you to go make this because it is just the time of your life. I was happy the entire time I was making the dough, and it's just so satisfying. Go make it. It's bread. It's great. Bread is great. I think that's the major takeaway here. Bread is great. Bread is great.